Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
Hi, I'm Martin from Alabama, and I have built Prince Eric and now Ariel's castle or palace from the iconic Disney movie, The Little Mermaid.
Okay. So take us through the design features here. Where did you start with this particular build?
Yeah, so I always try to look for an iconic part of it. The actual build part I started was the main, what we'd call the keep and the ballroom and dining room areas, which there's really very minimal literature on this building. So the fun part of this, it's kind of like a Mediterranean fortress. And so even though it's a Disney movie, it's based off a Mediterranean fortress, and I think it's actually maybe it's in Geneva is where it's based off, I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, it was this main keep, and I started to build it in different layers. So if we were to walk around the front, this is where one of the access points of the port. So this is where the Prince Eric would come and park his boat, sail it in there, and maybe others would, and they'd welcome their guests in. But this actually comes into different sections. I was like, oh, that'd be good to light it up, but I didn't light it up. and then I decided I just want it all one big chunky section to see if I can bring it here. But I knew the shape, so I'd found someone on Instagram who'd built a diorama of it, because there's no material on this side of the castle. It looked really nice, and so I basically copied his diorama on it. And the moment I knew this build was going to come together was when the roof happened, and I got this connection right here where like I put it on, and it's like it's the perfect angle. So yeah, this is where I started on the actual castle.
And the roof is fantastic. You've got kind of a variety of different angles for these different roofs you had to do here. So talk a little bit more about some of the challenges of that.
Yeah, there were challenges. It's right, and it's angles. So you, whenever you're building something like this, you have to get those unique angles right, and they are to the minimum degree of an angle on the roof pitching. But yeah, if we start over here where I think I've pointed to, we're using these little one-by pieces, which I used on my Encanto house. And total, I think I have 3,000 in this build. It might be a little bit more than that, but 3,000. It feels really nice to run your fingers along there. But the fact that they slotted in there is nice. And then I could move on to the main turret, which is fairly stable. So, but I'll show you the inside of it that you may be able to get in. So Martin style, not everything's connected, but it is fairly stable. So that like pops on there. And then all of these ones are different angles as well. So it's nice to have different roof angles than I've done before. So yeah.
And then as we come out to this section, very different techniques out here with kind of the tan rock work.
Yeah, so this is actually a little walkway, and we've got cherry trees that are blooming out here. This is actually a little bathhouse. That's kind of separate from everything else, and it's got this Titanic effect where you'd think that they'd be on the edge, etc., where the water's crashing on the building. But yeah, lots of snot brick on the actual, what would we call that?
Pylon.
On the pylon. Yeah, I thought about using arches, but I decided to start like working with wedges and stuff to get in there. And then we'd come around here to the inner side of this. So this is, you've got rocks here to prevent ships coming in. They would shipwreck, if they were trying to invade this castle. As we go in the little sandy beach, and there were always little things that would wash up on the shore. You got pirate flags, you have anchors, all sorts of junk sitting there. And then we've got a little orange chonky cat, looking for some fish or whatever's happening there. But it's kind of like a derelict area. I went with like building these rock structures, which were just like little rocks, and threw them in there, and it looks good.
You created your own big ugly rock pieces.
They are giant ugly rock pieces, but it works for
looks
what
great.
it needed to be. And then as you come around, so these are two main parts of the building. So this is actually, I believe, is where a lot of like the military would be kept. So this is all set up to be protective of the fortress for archers to be here and protect, like as boats would come and maybe dock up here. These are not connected; they kind of slot into place. And I've used a palisade brick, which is like the log brick, and just turn them inside to each other. So Meredith, Pink Wheels, challenged me to build a tower fully circular in white that had no pattern on it, and after saying I couldn't do it, I decided I would do it. So and it also is very stable as well. So
these stairs going up are beautiful as well, and just kind of the gradual rise there along with the curve.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for noticing that. That is also another one that's stable, but the rock bricks, or the palisade bricks, I'm sorry, you can bend them a little bit and have a tiny little bit of tension in there, so you can achieve that effect to go up there. And then some of these things, they aren't really attached in very well, but we're just sitting on one stud connections as they pop on here. Okay.
And what are some of the details on the back here?
Yeah, so this is the rear courtyard. This was the only land access point to the palace or the castle, and I've kind of cut it off here to have a little cross section. So we've got a couple of guards and their teddy bears, Harry Potter sitting out there, and my dog. There aren't many guards, but that's from the like the canon artwork. That's what they look like as guards. But we have a clock tower that's referenced in the movie, high walls. I'll show you how some of them work. Yeah, you want to see? You always like that. So the towers. This is how I've built my towers. Little roof just comes off like that. And then, I'm always thinking about my transportation, how I transport. I built these sections, so I just lift them off and put them in a place. So it's a pretty easy modular section, but I enjoyed this part. It's the last bit to do. Very last bit was a clock tower. So.
I think one thing I love about taking a look behind the scenes of your builds is how much I think other builders can learn from the way that you build modular and think ahead to when you're bringing stuff to a show. And I think people can learn a lot from looking at the way that you put your builds together.
Yeah, thank you. So, and actually, of all the builds I have here, like almost all of them have different techniques and built in that different way. But I am constantly thinking, how can I get that into X amount of boxes? How can I unload it quickly and pack it up quickly without much damage to it? So, yeah.
This is a fantastic looking build, and I love the contrast of the red and white on there. I think the color scheme works really nicely here. So as you're working on a build like this, are you looking at like screenshots from movies, or how does that work with your different Disney builds as you're working on those?
Yes, it's particularly this. Like there aren't many screenshots, and there's different variations. And then Disney World has this view, and it's different as well. So I find one or two dioramas that I like and focus on that. And I can't remember who it was, but someone had built a diorama, like model diorama, and I basically took their design and built that. So that was my main reference point, allowing myself some areas for wiggle room if I needed it. So yeah.
This is great, and you have now at this point become definitely iconic for your Disney builds. Where can people find more of your work online if they kind of want to follow what you've done and see more of what you do in the future?
Yeah, the majority of it's on Beyond the Brick, to be fair. That's where you'll find.
That's where you can start.
That's where you can start. I do have an Instagram page, Brick Snaps. You can look at that, and that's where I keep most of my personal stuff now on there. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.